And we will own the plant. We're installing the plant, we will own the plant.
Okay. One of the pieces that has occurred to me over and over again in this discussion is that it's very hard to know the balance, the various balances of the arguments without paper. And
Yes,
I really hope that at this phase, if we're going to be looking at something that's very concrete, that we all see the paper.
Well, that will be forthcoming. We're not quite at that stage yet. Once we get this agreement in principle, then we have to do things like the lease agreements. That has to be done, and then we have to put choose the water plant that we're going to put in there. We pretty much, I would say, pretty much have done that. And then we have to put it out to contract to the people who will actually build the plant for us. We're getting there, but one thing I want to say right now, I really appreciate the fact that I know everybody's been very patient with us. It's been a very difficult year for a number of reasons, but we are getting there. We are getting there. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, just a very quick note that in the last couple of weeks, or last week, I've managed to get all of our minutes on the website now. So we are completely caught up now with all of our minutes on the website. And if you take the time to read those minutes and go through, you'll see the progress of this project all the way along, and you'll get the majority of the detail that I talked about tonight. And you'll be able to see the changes in there of where we started to where we are today. So, like I said, we've been through seven different negotiations with Kip, and I'm sure we'll have one more before we get the final one done.
Those minutes are up. I went looking for them today, and I didn't find any there.
No, they're there. We changed the look and feel of the website. We kind of upgraded the website. When you look on the very top bar, they're there. And they're all there. So.
Laying off of Kilmarnock, I'm new to the area. All this jumping back and forth negotiation, at one point, do we have enough water up there to supply this joker with what he wants to do?
Yes, we have a water license for approximately 1,045 different lots. His current subdivision application that he's going to apply for is 30 to 50 lots. We have about, 640 customers right now on our current system. So we'll have, if he gets all this built, and, Trustee Elliott may be able to help me answer this question, but it's going to be, if everything went absolutely perfect, it's probably about 2 to 3 years before he finishes anything up there. So there's a lot of things that he has to get in place. So really, it's a long way before we're going to be close to coming close to fulfilling our, unless somebody else comes along in the short term.
Yeah, so just to recap, what your board took the position that we're not going to be building infrastructure for Brian. We're building what we require for our infrastructure, which is approximately 14 liters per second. If Brian decides he wishes to contribute now, with money up front, to make whatever we build easily expandable to accommodate up to 28 liters per second, which is our water license, then he has to pay for it. So he will pay the upfront cost of any upsizing that's required now, and anything else that's going to be required to move to the 28 liter per second point. So if our existing plant that we put in will service our community up to 14 liters per second, at 15 liters per second, Brian or whoever is wanting to upgrade that facility beyond that point is going to have to contribute and purchase a new plant that will take it out to the 28 liter per second point.
I don't mean plant supplying water, I mean the mountains supplying the water
The lake.
to come down.
The studies that have been done so far seem to indicate that we're probably good to, as Gordon said, about 1,050 homes. It's actually, the water license is what regulates it. There is no actual number. That number of lots is an extrapolated number from our water license is 28 liters per second. It can be extrapolated out to about 10,050 homes. Beyond that, no one knows. And we took great care to make provisions in this new agreement that would protect us from having to supply water beyond that point.
One thing to clarify,
Sorry.
one thing to clarify with a water license, which I learned recently when I joined the board, is a water license is, like Jim says, is a number of hookups that are estimated from a flow, but the flow is what really discerns your supply, and you cannot exceed that flow in your license. So you're constantly monitored. And again, the other thing that I learned, and I think it's quite interesting, you cannot refuse anybody water. If we had 100 people coming here and asking us to hook up the water, we cannot refuse them. We cannot refuse a developer hooking up to water if he meets our criteria and bylaws. So it's a right in Canada that you can get water. And so, you know, those are things you got to understand, that we're very well protected by our license by a flow rate. So it's not just a number, it's a flow rate. And also that we can't refuse anybody water. So if they're following the laws and the bylaws when they connect, then that's what has to happen. And there's other people wanting to develop in this area as well. So, you know.
This gentleman down here, take him first. Go
I'm
ahead.
Benenberg, Lytton Street. Actually, most of the questions I had have been answered. That's worked out quite well. I have one question, actually two, what tells me. One is, what happens, is any of the lease agreements contingent on development? In other words, if they say, we're going to flip the property, where does that put us? Item of curiosity mostly.
Well,
And I have one other one that deals with the water thing itself. I realize everybody has a right to water, but how come some communities have a moratorium on growth because there is no water?
well,
That does happen. I mean, we've seen it just down island over the last few years, with a moratorium on growth saying,
I think-
hey, we don't have enough water.
I think Trustee Bitton, what he meant was, yes, we can't refuse anybody any water, but if we don't have the water to give them, we can't give it to them.
My point.
All right.
If it goes beyond the license point,
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't do it.
or if there is insufficient supply, under our bylaws, 176, it's covered in there. If we're not able to deliver water.
And on the first part of the question, in terms of contingencies, if Kensington decides to flip the property, is any of our lease agreements is going to be protected?
Yes,
so that
we have a protection clause in there, so I think the Latin term is mutatis mutandis, the same applies. In other words, and this could very well happen, if the developer decides to sell his interest out in the project, then this agreement applies to whoever is going to buy it from, okay? Okay, sir.
Is there anything in this agreement that you've agreed to pursue, the in-principle agreement? Is there anything in the agreement that gives the developer first right to water? Versus if my son or friend decide they want to build in Union Bay, he has to approve their coming because he has first right.
No, it's a first come, first served situation, okay? Yeah, I mean, we can't, like Rick said, we can't refuse anyone water, except if we don't have, up to that point. Way back there in the crowd,
Keith
Yes.
Goldstein
yes.
from down the road here. Talking about the right to water, I
Yes.
want to point out that Canada is one of the 2 countries in the world where you do not have a universal right to water. We share the dubious distinction with Zimbabwe.
Well, thank you for that, I didn't know that.
That's right.
Okay, yes, sir.
So the August 2018 VIA dates are still...
Yes, no, the deadline is still there. However, you have to understand that I believe VIA's attitude is that so long as we're making progress here, they're not going to spend us, okay? They would far sooner have us spend the money that they could levy in fines on getting water plants. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gord, well, Gord, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I have 2 meetings tomorrow morning to report the progress of this. One is with VIA and the other one's with the provincial government. So they are both very, very interested in the direction of what we're going here. So I will be bringing VIA up to speed tomorrow morning. So and right up to their senior level. So.
So that does, I'm sorry, you have to jump up next time. So that means that our water is safe. Our water is safe. We don't have to worry about running out of water. We don't have to worry that the developer wants to own the water.
No.
We don't have to worry about that. We don't have to hear about that anymore, that people are going to say, is the developer going to own the water? Is our water safe? Is there enough water? Is it all okay?
Want to answer that?
Is it all okay?
Yes. I think Brian has to, like what Trustee Britton talked about earlier, Brian has to follow the same rules within our bylaws as everybody else.
And so everybody knows this now, so it doesn't have to be repeated every meeting?
Yeah, well,
Okay, I jumped this is just a comment, this isn't a question. First of all, I think that most everybody in this room wants Kensington to be there, because it adds a bigger tax base, which means there's more people around here to build all the infrastructure that we need, okay? I have been for KIP since day one. I've gone through 21 years of all this garbage. I want them there, but I want this board to be looking after our interests, okay? Not KIP's
And why would we do anything else?
Oh, don't open that door.
There's this side and there's this side, and you know, I just want everybody in this board that we elected, right or wrong, to work for the benefit of us. Absolutely.
Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we do that?
We took a note. We took a note.
Susanna, when you ran for the election, you did say the board is being run, why would we want a board that is being run by KIP, which had never ever happened, but that was one of the statements that you were making. So just so you know, the board's not run by KIP.
You stood up 3 times and haven't introduced yourself.
My name is Sherry Locks, I'm sorry for not introducing myself.
Okay, listen,
where do you live?
It's okay, it's
one more
okay.
question back here, I think everybody got it.
Yeah.
Okay, address the chairman and the board. First of all, when it came to the idea of the right of not being able to get water, I remember back in 1976 going through this when Union Bay would not give us water down at Buckley Bay. They had ran a new water line down because of 2 developments, the Mystery Beach subdivision and the McMillan-Lodell property. And they bypassed us coming back the other way. There were 5 residents who were having a very hard time getting decent water through the year. And Union Bay said, no, we're not going to give you water. Well, Jack Bradley at the time, some people might have known Jack Bradley, Captain Jack, went to Victoria And Victoria called Union Bay and said, "Thou shalt give them water." So yes, it is true. The other thing I want to say is, I commend this board of working together. I really appreciate the work that you guys have all put in. And I think we're finally getting somewhere. Thank you very much.
One more question, ma'am.
I'm happy to see progress too, great. What happens if the subdivision isn't approved? Is CBRD on board? How close are they to approving the subdivision? Because you said the agreement all hedges on that approval.
This is kind of a tough question to answer because it involves some speculation. However, I believe that I believe that at the end of the day, we will get subdivision. McMahon will get subdivision approval from the CBRD.
Is this just for the 50 houses, not for the big?
No, just for the initial stage. Okay. After that, well, you know, who knows?
It's two separate issues.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. But yes, and that, yeah, I can't.
Do we have a backup plan in case?
Here, okay, there you go.
Do we have a backup plan? Yeah, we would, if in the event we were unable to obtain a lease for whatever reason, I think we would have to go to our other piece of property. How long it's going to take Kensington Isle Properties to get subdivision approval from the regional district, as Peter said, it's anybody's guess. It's not going to be it's not going to be before we have to build a water treatment plant for the community. I'm fairly certain of that. Brian still has to get sewer approval and many, many other provisions approved by the CBRD to go ahead with his development. My hope is, regardless of that process, which may take some time, is that we can obtain a suitable lease from Brian on that piece of land for the 20 years, for the long term, that'll let us start to build our plant prior to him getting his subdivision approval. So the next step, once we have an agreement with Brian that we can all live with, is for him to take it to the CBRD and get them to comment on it. But I hope that in the interim, we can work very hard on getting a lease agreement in place with Brian so we can start the construction of what we need to construct.
We still have a deadline of August 2018. We're supposed to have a plant up and running in that time. I still believe we can probably make that, but if we don't right on the minute, I'm sure that we can probably get an extension, provided that we have significant progress in building the plant. So if that's, yes, sir?
Is all of this contingent on Union Bay getting sewer in first?
No.
That's another board. That's the regional district.
Okay, listen, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. I think that's pretty much exhausted. So can I get a motion for that?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.